And the more that one leans in, the more the other leans away. And what starts to happen is this cycle, this vicious cycle, a push and pull that feels intense and emotional. And honestly, a little addictive because it becomes hard to walk away from. Hi, my friend. Welcome to the Bounce Back Black Woman podcast. I'm Dell, and I've overcome some of the most devastating heartbreaks I could ever have imagined. Do you find yourself stuck in sadness after a broken heart, asking God, why me? Well, I'm here to help women just like you heal and build the resilience to overcome life's greatest hurts. If you long for joy and confidence again, this podcast is for you. So grab your headphones and those heartbreaks. Let's talk. Hey there, my friend, and welcome back to Bounce Back Black Woman. In our last episode, we began talking about attachment styles, what they are, where they come from, and how they shape the way that we show up in our relationships. And so if you listen to that episode, you might have started to see yourself just a little differently. But today we are going to go a little deeper, an entire layer deeper, because it's one thing to understand your pattern, and it's another thing to understand what happens when your pattern meets someone else's. And today we are talking about something that many women and men have experienced, even if they didn't have the language for it at the time. And it's centered around two pretty predominant attachment styles, anxious and avoidant. And I call it the anxious-avoidant dance. And what does this dance actually look like? You see, this is the dynamic where one person is craving closeness, reassurance, consistency, emotional connection, and the other person feels that closeness and starts to pull back because they need space, they need distance, they need room to breathe. And the more that one leans in, the more the other leans away. And what starts to happen is this cycle, this vicious cycle, a push and pull that feels intense and emotional. And honestly, a little addictive because it becomes hard to walk away from. Now, how do you know if you're in that dance? If you're listening and you're thinking to yourself, okay, Del, but how do I know if this is actually what I've experienced? I'm going to give you a few signs. You might be in this dynamic if the relationship you're in feels like really high highs and really low lows, extremes at one end or the other. You might be in this dynamic if you are constantly trying to read the other person and figure out what is going on in their mind and in their head and in their heart because they won't come right out and say it. You could be in this dynamic if you feel relief when they come closer to you, and then you begin to feel anxious and anxiety when they pull away. You might be in this dynamic if you've ever told yourself, if they would just be consistent, this would work. And here's the truth, my friend. It's not that there's not a connection between the two of you. It's that the connection itself doesn't feel steady. So why does it feel like chemistry? And here's where this gets a little bit tricky, because this dynamic doesn't just feel frustrating at times. It also, at the same time, feels like chemistry. It feels like passion and intensity and something really meaningful just at the edge of your grasp. But what's actually happening is that both people are activating something that's familiar. Not necessarily something healthy, but something that's familiar to them and brings them safety and brings them calm. I can think of a time in my life where I was leaning in. I wanted clarity. I wanted consistency. I was trying to understand exactly where I stood. And the more that I leaned in, the more distance I felt on the other person's side. And instead of stepping back, I stayed. I kept trying to figure it out, trying to make it make sense, trying to give myself excuses for their behavior or their unwillingness to meet me where I needed. I was trying to hold on to the moments that felt good and ignore the moments that didn't feel so good. And here's what I really want you to understand. This dynamic is painful on both sides because the anxious person feels unsure, activated, unsettled, and consciously trying to restore connection. Constantly trying to restore connection. But the avoidant side feels overwhelmed, panicked, nervous, pressured, and like they can't fully breathe. And they too are activated in an entirely different way. And both people are trying to feel safe at the same time. They're just going about it in completely different ways. So let's break down the pattern. Underneath it all, the anxious side is thinking, if I can just get closer, we'll be okay. If they would just open up and relax, we'll be okay. And the avoidant person is thinking, if I can just get some space, I'll be okay. If they would just let me be, I'll be okay. But then together, those needs collide. They meet head on. Because the more that one reaches, the more that the other one retreats. And the more that the other one retreats, the more the first one reaches. And now we're in a cycle. We're in that dance. So why is it that you stay in this kind of relationship with this weird, uncomfortable dance? I want to talk about why it is so hard to leave. Because if you're honest, you didn't just stay because you didn't know any better. Something deep down inside you told you this isn't the way it should be. You stayed because there were moments that felt really, really good. You stayed because you could see potential. If only. And you stayed because there was hope. God can do anything, right? And sometimes we confuse inconsistency with depth. We tell ourselves, if I just give it more time, if I just love a little harder. But love shouldn't feel like something that you have to chase. You see, my friend, God is not the author of confusion. And He's not asking you to stay in cycles that keep triggering your anxiety, or keep triggering your fear, or keep triggering your need to chase something that keeps pulling away, or your need to pull away when someone is pursuing you. Love should feel like peace, not pressure. Here are a few journal prompts that will help you get to the root of what might be happening if you find yourself in this kind of relationship dynamic. The first one. Have I ever been in a relationship that felt like a push-pull cycle? What made it or makes it so hard to go? And did it feel like peace or did it feel like pressure? Now, in the next episode, we are going to talk about how you begin to move out of these patterns and shift into something more secure. Because, my friend, you are not stuck in this. You can grow, you can heal, and you can learn to love differently. Well, that's it for today, my friend. I really hope this episode inspired, encouraged, or just plain comforted you. If so, please share it with a friend who might be struggling in her own healing journey. And if you take a moment to leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts, you'll help other women find encouragement through their heartbreak. Remember that God is holding your hand along this journey, and guess what? I'm holding the other. Life is short, so bounce back, Black woman.